What is up, my lovely, lovely, lovely fighting game enthusiast? Welcome to FGC Cast. I am your gratuitous host. As always, please tip 20% and you will see your secondary fantastic food runner, Yahosi. How you doing today here, Don?
I'm doing good. Yeah. Tip me 25% because I'm the best server ever. Yeah. Happy to be here. How's it going?
It's going pretty horribly. There is a family of wasps that have decided to nest outside of my window, and every single second I record this podcast, my life is in peril danger. But how is life going for you?
Well, you have wasps feeding outside your window. Weirdly enough, I always do. They just haven't really bothered me yet. I had COVID. I have had COVID. So me and my wife, we caught COVID from actually a Project L influencer event, which we can probably talk about later on in the series.
We will be talking about later on in the series.
We will, yeah. But I got COVID from it, which sucks. I avoided for 3 years, and then I go to LA for one weekend, and then that's it. That's the end of it.
That's literally how COVID works. COVID's like, hey, what's up? You got a thing you want to be around right now? Too bad.
Yeah,
too bad for
COVID is all about seething and like the underbelly of America, right? And when we talk about the underbelly, the worst parts of America, I'm particularly talking about LA. The worst city I've ever been to in my entire life. Every time I go there, something bad happens.
I'm so happy you brought that up. I was flown out to LA for a photo shoot and to do some promo stuff for a project that I'm still working on and can't publicly talk about. But when I was out there filming for that, it was crazy because I was like, I hate every single second of it. It just feels like the antithesis of everything I've hated about conglomerates and corporations and the wealth disparity. And it's like, I hate LA, dude.
LA's cars, like who here loves cars? Like I sure do. LA is just a nightmare for everyone. Even if you're rich, LA is a nightmare, you know?
I want to stress, the further I got from downtown LA, the better time I had. I feel like when I say, and I want to stress this because it was like everyone in California was getting pissed at me because I said, I hate California, I hate LA. They're like, why do you hate California, Sharpie? And I was like, because the personification of California is Hollywood and LA. Yeah. And like the personification of that is just corporations, which people hate. Because people are not corporations, but corporations pretend to be people, you know?
Yeah, it's either like LA, which is like a combination of Skid Row, people down on their luck, and also like Hollywood megalomaniacs, two opposite ends of the drug problem, or California is Silicon Valley, which is an equally obnoxious part of California culture. And even I lived in Oakland for a long time, and I actually really like Oakland, but like LA in particular, like every time I go down there, I'm like, this sucks. Like their airport is so bad, Sharpie. Their airport is the worst airport. You have to go up an escalator to get through security. Like there's a security guard, so the line. I mean, you've been to LAX,
of course,
right?
I have. I had to pay $29 to take an Uber 17 minutes away to my hotel. It was horrible.
Did you have to wait at the security to get up the escalator?
It was actually $54. I'm sorry. Did I say 25? It was double that. And they were trying to get me at $75 just to go 20 minutes. I was like, I'm about to walk down this freeway. How dare they?
Oh yeah, LA is a nightmare. LA Ubers suck. They suck so bad. And you have to like take like a bus that shows up once every 30 minutes to get to like
take the Uber. Yeah. I was like, oh no.
Like $80. Yeah.
No. Oh,
but no. They literally have a security guard waiting at the bottom of an escalator, and the line is like partially on the escalator, so you have to like sit and wait for a security guard to wave you up the escalator to go, and then you enter like a spiral line to get to security. I'm like, what is this airport? This airport's awful.
Yeah.
And then I caught COVID there, so LA is a garbage town. And I hate LA. And
downtown LA, everybody. California locals, please don't come to us.
No, you can come to me. I hate all of LA. Your city sucks. I'm sorry. I want to live in the suburbs where it takes equally long to get everywhere in rush hour, and like Like, yeah, this is where like the B-list like Hollywood is. I'm sorry, I don't like LA. If you're in the suburbs of LA, no hate to you. But I like NorCal a lot better. And there's a reason I live in Seattle now.
I just want to say, for the record, it makes sense to me, Don, that we are like this now. And I can say like this because my parents are actually from Palo Alto, California.
Oh, okay.
So I know everyone always seems to think that for whatever reason, I live on the West Coast. I don't. My parents, my mother is just super duper Cali. Like, I've been taking trips back to California. That's one of the reasons I'm so disillusioned with like the whole, you have to live out in California to live an influencer or creator life, is because it's like, no, you don't. Like, when people get a choice about like moving away from California, they do. Like, they always do.
You have to live in a tiny room in LA with seven other people.
$7,000 a month to live with 14 other people you don't know.
Yeah, but the burritos are great, you know, like, whoa, like, oh my God. Like, because no one in LA can cook.
Authentic international food. And it's like, bitch, I can have international authentic food anywhere else in the world and it will cost me $6, dude.
LA food is goated, but you have to be so sad while eating it because you're in LA. Like, it's not worth it. It's not worth it.
That's exactly how my LA and Hollywood trip went, by the way. I was so sad the first 2 days. I was like, I hate it here. And then Zed, you know, Zed Tabani, he took me out and he was like, hey, yo, come eat here. And I was like, oh, this is nice. I like this. And I'm kind of, and it wasn't, you know, raining. So I had a great time. But outside of the conversation of California, I want to address the very obvious multicultural in living color elephant inside of the room, which is the fact that we are here using our video, our actual cameras, because we have decided to no longer evade the FBI. We've decided that even if we're going to be on the most wanted list, they can come find us. Okay, you hear me? You hear me, Uncle Sam? I ain't running from you no more. We're right here inside of this very, very, very public green screen room.
I will always be running from Uncle Sam. He can come get me.
Speaking of running away from Uncle Sam, GranBlue Versus has a brand new character in the game. Don, do you want to go ahead and talk a little bit more about Spectre, whose gameplay was technically available during our very last cast, but is now currently available to play right now?
Oh, we're talking about DNF Duel.
DNF Duel. What did I say? GranBlue Versus. I said GranBlue.
GranBlue. Listen, there's a lot of news.
We got a lot of news. Let's start with some GranBlue actual news first. That's, I think, the most relevant part of everything that we're doing right now, right? So let's talk about GranBlue, and then we'll get over to DNF Duel.
Yeah, so the GranBlue versus Rising, the beta is ongoing right now. I think the closed beta was going on the 26th and the 27th. So now it's going on until July 5th, which is really cool. Actually, why did it say from July? Oh, the registration period. Yeah. So the open beta is actually closing today. Today's the July 30th. So by the time you listen to this, it'll be over. Yeah. But yeah, you can play all the characters that are in it as of right now. I believe it's the cast of GranBlue versus plus Siegfried. There's like 2 other characters that are announced, maybe 3 other characters that aren't available. But the big thing is all like the gameplay changes. So they have a new throw system, they have guard breaks, they have like an entirely new auto combo system. Like every character has new auto combos. They did the same thing with Persona, like when that came out, like they have entirely new auto combos. From what I understand, like people are 50-50 on the changes. Like the game is absolutely gorgeous. Like they put like the particle effects, and GranBlue Versus was already an incredibly beautiful game.
Very true.
Right?
Very true.
And they pumped it up a lot with the particle effects, and it looks gorgeous. Like it's the most gorgeous looking game out there right now. It looks better than Strive by a lot, honestly.
I didn't have a chance to play any of it, and I know you've also been very busy in general. So I guess my thoughts are, you're saying it's very well received. Is there anything that you're excited to see after this beta is concludes? Do you think that we're going to get anything kind of nice here?
From what I've heard from others, people really hate the grab changes in GranBlue versus Rising. So are you familiar with BlazBlue's purple throws by chance?
Not really. Is it anything like purple burst inside of Strive or the Guilty Gear franchise?
No, so the way that purple throws work is if you do a throw raw, right, and you throw someone, you have about, I believe in BlazBlue, 15 frames to check. Maybe it's 13. And it's called a green throw, right, which is a pretty average window. If you're comboing someone and you throw them, you have 37 to 44 frames to check. I forget. I think it changes based on ground or air.
Okay.
So GranBlue versus, from my understanding, when you grab someone in that game, you have like a purple throw window tech to actually tech the throw. It's like 30 something frames to tech. And in the original version, the later you teched, you took damage and you got minus frames, which is still true. But now the tech window is so unbelievably large that like you literally can't throw people to death. You have to guard break them if you want to like open up their defenses. So people are like, I don't know if they like that.
It's just different, a vast difference than probably before.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's really different, and like
it does sound like meta changing.
Like in what game is like the throw window that big? So people are really
a good one. Just let me tell you right now, Don, as someone who hates grapplers, I am totally behind this GranBlue versus change. I hate throw loops.
Okay. All right. Well, then we're all for it. What about the? Did you see what was going on with simple controls in GranBlue versus?
No, they're adding simple controls now.
So they always had simple controls, but now before the way it worked is that if you did the technical input, so let's say you did a DP motion and you pressed H, right? You would get 20% more damage than if you just pressed down and S in special to get the special move.
Oh.
So they had it where if you did technical inputs, you did more damage.
Oh.
They put them at parity. So now the simple controls or in the technical controls do the exact same thing.
Yeah, Capcom game developers are currently inside the chat right now watching, dude.
Yeah, they're watching, just rubbing their hand like modern mode.
Modern mode, huh?
Modern mode was sick.
Yeah.
I'm gonna press down and S to do a special move, which is funny.
Players are like foaming at the mouth, dude.
Yeah. One button command grabs all up in GranBlue. So, people
that's exciting.
People are like unsure. People like the old balance of how it worked because like you would choose to do simple sometimes and you would choose to do the technical input other times. But now, why would you ever do the technical input? People are a little bit unsure of the changes. But I mean, like, is the decision that the developers are making, right? Like, we have yet to see how like the meta develops. I know in general the sentiment around it has been negative in terms of that change in particular, but people in general like the rest of the changes. Like they added more systems and more systems after a game has been out since 2018. It's been like 5 years now. Is never a bad thing. And I'm in the PNW, and PNW plays GranBlue a lot.
PNW is like, for most people that don't know, just I know I understand that term. I just want to say for some of our first time viewers and new anime FGC listeners, PNW stands for Pacific Northwest and encompasses a lot of, I would say, southeastern Canada, Oregon, Washington. You're talking about really anything above California for the most part on the West Coast. And that entire chunk is very, very well known for a lot of powerful, specifically anime 2D fighting game players growing up. You have things like, Northwest Regionals is the really big major up there. I'm sure there are a lot of very well-known locals as well that you could probably notice, but obviously Seattle is a part of PNW.
Yeah. So Seattle's a part of PNW, and PNW is very good at GranBlue. PNW is the strongest US GranBlue region. For some reason, like everyone here plays GranBlue, and I don't know why. I don't know how that happens, but like you go to a local and like the big game is GranBlue.
I love how you're not complaining about it. You're like, this is a good thing.
Cool.
Yeah,
it's cool. I like it. Like I'm glad that somewhere is enjoying this game, even though it didn't have rollback until now.
It's hard, especially because I know you're from like the southeast, right? Florida, Tampa scene around there, right?
That's where I started in the fighting game scene, at least.
So it's like it's vastly different because I know I live on the East Coast, and most of East Coast, even though like we love our anime fighters, like New York kind of dominates. And so it's probably really nice being inside of a region where a game like GranBlue that may not have been as strong coming out, especially due to the pandemic, is now like at a resurgent, and you're in a region with some of the strongest players in the continental United States.
Yeah, no, it's really nice, and it's fun to watch GranBlue. I enjoy watching GranBlue more than I like watching Strive. So it's good that like it's popular here and people are enjoying it. So yeah, I mean, GranBlue versus Rising, I'm glad the game's getting it. It's finally getting rollback netcode. That's awesome. Like the game needs it. and wishing the best for GranBlue because that game is sick.
Godlike.
I think the game's good.
Yo, speaking of some of the new changes that has happened, especially side of anime fighting games, let's go on over to DNF Duel. Spectre was a character that we have been talking about. They said they were going to release it in, I think,
like a year.
Yeah, for a while. And I know DNF Duel has gotten some flack, especially from you, Don, about not coming out with DLC. Now that you've had a little bit of time to dissect, to look at some of the public opinion around this new character Spectre, why don't we go ahead and take a look at her?
Yeah, she's cool. I'll give her that. She's cool. Like, I think that she's a neat character. DNF Duel added like a defensive mechanic that I'm honestly, it doesn't deliver everything that I wanted. Full disclosure, because of Project L, I haven't had a chance to play DNF Duel like I should. Like, I got asked to like commentate DNF Duel at EVO, and I'm like, I can't, because I literally don't know the mechanics well enough anymore since the patch. It's something I'm going to dig into soon, but like, Spectre's cool. She's a baddie. I like her a lot. The game seems in a better spot. They pumped everything up to like 11, and a new defensive mechanic. Like, even though it's not great, it's not instant block, which is what I think most DNF Duel players want. It's something, and honestly, at this point, DNF Duel players were starving. Like, we're okay with table scraps.
It'd be like that sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, when that's all you have. Like, especially, I'm not going to talk about Skullgirls because Skullgirls is even so pretty right now. We got Marie coming out and stuff. We're hyped. Like, we always be living. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But we are gonna blast through some brand new news that unfortunately we did want to talk about last week, just didn't unfortunately have the time to talk about it. There was some new changes inside of the FGC, specifically the CLG9 FGC. CLG has actually announced that they are now entering the fighting game space by bringing in 2 new players, specifically UU and Cuddlecore are now officially the very first fighting game community members introduced inside of Cloud9, which is considered I believe it's like a tier 1 esports organization. UU is a Tekken 8 Japanese fighting game player. You can see her here showcasing with another Tekken 8 Japanese player here, and Cuddlecore literally needs absolutely no introduction whatsoever. Cuddlecore is very well known inside of the traditional fighting game community for participating inside of events like Texas Showdown. Obviously, she just won Defend the North. And I feel like there's been a lot of talk specifically around Cuddlecore in general, so it's really, really nice to see both her and, I would say, a lesser known person internationally inside of this new scene, especially with the new, like, I would say, announcement of like Tekken 8 coming out, which that's hype, dude. I unfortunately haven't had a chance to play Tekken 8. I did get a code, but I haven't had a chance to play it because the wasps have literally been challenging me to enter that room and try to play something. So I'm not in a place where I can play it, but I will say for the record, I'm really excited to see the future for both of these 2 players, because Cuddlecore is just one of those people where you want to see her succeed. Yeah, you know,
I do want to see her succeed. I've always been a fan of Cuddlecore and like wishing her all the best. You know, and UU, she's not someone I'm as familiar with, but like CLG obviously took the plunge on her, and she seems very well respected inside the Tekken scene. So good stuff to her.
Congratulations to both of those players. They're awesome, dude. And this video is pretty hype.
Did I ever tell you the first time I met Cuddlecore? The only time I met Cuddlecore?
No, what was that like?
So I was in I think it was EVO 2022. And I was going back to my room a little drunk, I'm not gonna lie, and I see her walking by with Scar. Walking by with Scar, and I'm like, I just yell, "Hey, Cuddlecore!" And she's like, "What? Who's that?" And I'm like, "It's your Hosey. Hi." She goes, "Oh, hi!" And then I close the door because I'm going to my room to pass the hell out.
The last time I saw her was Combo Breaker, and I literally broke down crying. And she's like, "Why are you crying? What happened?" And I was like, "No, I'm so happy for what you represent and what you've been able to accomplish." Because the last time I saw her was EVO.
That's a much sweeter story than mine, which is.
I don't usually like get sentimental or cry, but it's like there are 2 people that when I see them every single time, I feel like our scene is growing immensely, and those 2 people are Saki Sakura and Cuddlecore, because they have been putting work in this entire quarantine. They were in completely different places at the start of quarantine, and now that we're coming out of quarantine, you can see the way that they've elevated both themselves and their community while still being really good representations of like the fighting game community, really positive representation, you know? And like that's something that I don't feel is necessarily broadcasted in other avenues of the fighting game community, you know? So it's all, I'm always happy when I see Cuddlecore like getting her flowers, or whenever I see Saki like doing the thing. I'm like, go off. Those are two people, especially with like Tekken 8 and Mortal Kombat 1 coming out, to be really on the lookout for this next year.
I'm big into uplifting women in the FGC. I may be a hater in a lot of ways, but I am not a hater when it comes to people, you know? Yeah, that's fair. I may hate where you live, but I don't hate you.
You know, speaking of hating and being just a general overarching hater, I wanted to go ahead and talk about something that I absolutely hate right now, which is Rashid inside of Tekken or inside of Street Fighter 6. I hate this character. I dislike this character immensely. I am a Lily main. We discussed this last episode, didn't we? We talked about that. What I don't understand is why this character is allowed to exist. Why is this character allowed to have every single projectile currently playable inside of Street Fighter 6, has every single wind projectile known to God, and is just a better version of Lily with no command grabs? Like,
Rashid has problems. Rashid is a problematic character in a lot of ways, right? Like,
he's an influencer for one. That's a good reason to hate him.
Yeah, so you know he's problematic, right, in multiple ways. Like, he's playing Among Us, or I don't know, canceled on Twitch.
No, that's exactly what he is.
Times, he's canceled. Rashid.
Look at him doing all of this for a stream. You're gonna tell me that he's not like, I don't know. He looks like
Tyler 1.
Yeah, he probably has like a UP page or something, you know?
Probably. He has a Patreon. He has
like an OnlyFans where he posts pictures of his toes after walking in the sand and stuff, dude.
Yeah, the toe feet Rashid. Feet picture Rashid. Rashid is like legitimately a problem, right? Because he came out earlier this week, right?
Yeah, I believe he came out like at this point now, like a week and a half ago or so.
Something like that, yeah. And he's legal at EVO, which people are really upset about, because like it's a really dramatic change to happen right before the biggest tournament. And they're kind of regretting, I think, releasing Rashid and making him legal, because he's a pretty buggy character, actually. Like, he has a glitch where if he does, I think it's Super 2, and he walks at the opponent in a very specific way, they're like trapped in block stun forever.
So the exact link that has now since been patched out at the time of filming this podcast was that originally Rashid could do his level 2 super, speed it up with one of his projectile wins, and then as long as Rashid walks up and is walking towards the opponent inside the tornado, that tornado will last on the screen.
Yeah, which is really silly, and I'm glad they patched it, but like,
just think about what else is inside the game. That's exactly why you don't make a new character legal.
I know of some things. People have told me of things that they have found that they're not showing before EVO because they don't want the tech to get patched out, right? Like, shout outs
to Don making sure that people collect the bag, dude.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not here to ruin anyone's bag. Screw that. Like,
no, there's $1 million bag up there. Yeah, no, I feel that. Like, that's life-changing money.
If they walk up to me with a bag, like, put the money in the bag, I'd be like, you got it, sir. Like, yes, right. You, no problem. $1 million right away.
That's I they do this, man. I really hope they poach this. I really hope they patch this after you win EVO.
Yeah, I know, right? Like, dang. So, you know, Rashid, what a character.
Why is he practicing on Lily, though? Like, it feels like wind-on-wind crime is like so disrespectful in this community, dude.
It is disrespectful. It's awful. Horrible.
I hate it. I hate it so much. But yeah, Rashid's inside of the game. You know, he's a really popular character. A lot of people are playing him. He is, like you said, Don, really buggy. Can't stress that enough. But he is also like really, I know I already said it, but really, really popular. If you play ranked right now, you're pretty much only going to be seeing Rashids. You're not really going to see anybody else unless they maybe possibly practicing some of their stuff now at this point. Like, EVO is next weekend. EVO is like this
EVO's
upcoming
next weekend,
weekend.
yep.
Yeah, so
Yep.
it's one of those situations where it's like, I hope you understand the matchup. I hope you're ready for the matchup. And if you're not ready for the matchup, I hope that you were able to set up a refund 3 weeks ago before EVO closed out their refunds, dude.
my honest advice, if you're going to EVO and you're nervous about fighting Rashid, is just remember that you're more practiced with your character than they are with Rashid.
Yeah.
So I think honestly, like honest advice, I think you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
Because no one who enters, like competitive mindset thing, no one that enters a tournament with the intention to play the best they've ever played in their entire life.
Exactly.
Your goal is to play anxious enough to where your muscle memory can take over and carry you throughout the tournament. So like, if you are not switching to Rashid, I think just stick with it. If Rashid's there, don't worry. Like, you'll just body every Rashid. And remember that like Johnny Donuts is going to be your opponent for the majority of the tournament.
Yeah, and
right?
if you
like,
don't know how to
fighting...
punish like uppercuts, you've already lost. So why are you mad?
Just play your game.
Yeah.
Just play your game, right? Like, don't be nervous about Rashid. Just play your game.
Exactly. Which brings us, I believe, to one of our final topics of the day, which I'm personally very, very excited to talk about. We were going to do an EVO recap, everybody. The reason why we had our cameras on yet again is because this is an EVO episode. We have this whole little, like, kind of tradition that we're starting, which is every single time we talk about EVO, that's going to be the main cast. But this year, this EVO, there's actually something a little bit bigger than EVO for us to talk about, and that is actually going to be Project L. They have officially told us that this year at EVO 2023, Project L will be playable for everybody and anybody who happens to attend. We got some footage about Project L. We got some footage of actual Project L gameplay. This is the very first public showcasing of full gameplay of what the game looks like. They showed off a multitude of mechanics inside of the game, and they showed off some characters that we've already seen, but we saw so much more. We got to see supers, we got to see assists, we actually got to see the handshake tags. And for the next part of this, where literally the rest of this podcast is just going to be a Project L roundtable. So if you were only here to hear about like, oh yeah, what's up with EVO, what's up with the news, you're done, it's over. The next almost 40 minutes of this podcast are going to be dedicated to Project L. And of course, we happen to have one of the developers, a gameplay assistant, gameplay developer, gameplay QA, basically quality assurance for Project L, gameplay tester, Yahozi here, and we're going to be getting her exclusive thoughts on this. So obviously I want to start off by just saying again, Don, thank you so much for, talking to us on this podcast, this exact platform.
It's partially my podcast, so what up?
It's literally your podcast, but thank you again.
Oh my God.
And,
of course.
I know you have, I just want to talk about like this very first event that happened here. We had a bunch of people at this event that were actually, they've announced it and they've talked about it. We had people like Kizzy K, we had people like, Justin Wong, Maximilian, DeKill Sage, Sonic Fox have all talked about how they're at attendance. Romola was I'm mispronouncing her name.
Romola.
Romola was there as well, and they all came out with videos immediately after the embargo was up, being like, "Yep, I was there. Riot flew me out. We covered the game. I'm excited." And even more importantly, they did officially announce that Project L will be playable at EVO with these 3 characters, a secret 4th character that we will not be disclosing on this podcast, obviously. But so Don, let's talk about some of the gameplay behind it.
Let's do it.
You are actually one of the players inside of this gameplay that was released to influencers. I was not one of those influencers, but I am receiving this footage courtesy of the Maximilian YouTube channel, as well as the Kill Sage's Twitch channel, where he was dissecting some of the footage. Your username on here is 12341234123412334. Talk to me.
So when we make a Riot account, an internal Riot account, they were just like, just put whatever for the username, because every username, it's like in Discord, before they changed it, it was like number blah blah blah, and you could have whatever. They're like, just put whatever you want there. And so I'm like, cool, I'll just put whatever I want. So I just put a 12341234123412334. And everyone else is like, well, why did you put your name as that? Like, I'm Apology Man, and I'm Yonoid, and I'm Funtax. Like, Yonoid is Nerdosh's online tag sometimes, and like, oops. So now people think that Jin is in the game, who is a League of Legends character who like references that, and I'm like, no, I'm just dumb. Like, listen, no speculation on is or is not, but I'm just a dumb person, and I just put 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 because they literally put anything there, whatever, it doesn't matter. So I was like, okay, sure, fine,
got it. Let's do this thing. Yeah.
So I'm 1, 2, 3, 4 in these clips. You know, I'm playing Ari usually most of the time, who's my current main in the game. So yeah, that's what I play.
The story. The end.
That's the story.
There's no Jin inside of the game. The whole thing about Jin is he's an assassin who like literally is trying to keep tempo and time because he also plays piano. He works inside of common time, which is 4 out of 4. So the whole thing is 1, 2, 3, 4, and inside of League of Legends, that 4th shot is a crit shot. It does the most damage. He can only keep up to 4 shots in general before he has to reload. It's a whole thing. So it's like that is it was an unfortunate developer.
No, I think it's a very fortunate thing because it's very funny.
It's really funny. I'm not gonna lie to you, it is really funny. But
yeah, so this gameplay footage is me, Apology Man, Nerd Josh, and Funtax. We're the gameplay analyst team. Again, just a reminder for those who aren't regular listeners, kind of what we do. It's our job to make sure that anything that is released is balanced and isn't like ridiculously broken.
Yeah.
And in general, like, we debate on what mix-ups are cool and what are not cool.
That's cool.
In addition, we also do like QA things that like only fighting game pros would do, which is like, when you do X and Y on the exact same frame, then you know this weird situation happens. So that's kind of what we do and what our job is. So yeah, more than happy to talk about whatever we want to talk about with this game. Mainly the fact that it's at freaking EVO, which is mind blowing.
I'm so surprised that a build was able to come out in time for EVO, because that's really difficult to hit, especially with timelines in general. Before we get too far into it, I do want to just encourage all of our viewers to go ahead and check out, because I actually came out with a little video, a cute little, oh my god, please fit me. I'm so big.
No, just leave it. This is great. This is perfect.
It works now. Oh my god.
That's all right. This is perfect. Don't change a thing. This is amazing.
Why is it this?
For our audio listeners, we were looking at a giant stretched image of Sharpie's face.
Oh my god, I'm so embarrassed. I worked really, really hard on this video that I made right here of like, I make little explanation videos. So I made a little video explaining how it's like going to be playable at EVO and all this cute little stuff. And I do it all to like cute little songs that I think our listeners would enjoy. Specifically this time I used Bill Withers. So I was really excited about it before it got all stretched out. You can check it out on my YouTube, TikTok, x.com, formerly twitter.com.
That's right, x.com's only.
Or my Instagram, and just you'll hear the brief notes of it, but I did just want to shout that out, especially since I won't be at EVO. And the other thing I wanted to go ahead and go over before we get too far into it is, so this isn't the first Project L video we've gotten. You know, we've gotten Project L videos earlier, as you're obviously familiar with, Yohozi. Tom and I believe Tony actually came live and talked previously about the gameplay a little bit and gave us an idea, firstly, that it is going to be free to play, which is awesome. Super excited to hear that. But most importantly, one of the important things here is that they announced inside of this most recent video is that you can actually play 2v1 or 2v2 if you so choose. So right here we have an example of 2v2, which I expect most people will be playing, but we do also have the ability to select 1v2 as well, as shown right here. So you can see that there's one controller and then 2 people. But the thing I want to talk about right now is 2v2.
Sure. Let's talk.
There are no custom assists inside of the game. Now, I come from Skullgirls, right? And a big issue that I had with Dragon Ball FighterZ was there was no custom assists. And I I think, very visibly frustrated by the fact there are no custom assists when I was first reacting to it, when Sean originally said, oh yeah, they're not going to be custom assists, they're static assists. And so my thing here, right, is that I feel as though it takes away from a certain level of the game because you can't be as nuanced or as specific as you like inside of it, right? But we did get actual footage of what that assist page looks like. There's double down assists, there's 2x assists, which my face is blocking a little bit, so you can like this allows your partner to do I believe different kinds of assists when they actually come in as well. Do you want to talk very briefly about it?
So yeah, the game has 2 types of assists. You have a forward assist and a back assist with every character. The assists sometimes have are moves that they use on point, and sometimes they're not. Like Ari is one where she shoots the orbs down. That's not really one that she uses on point, not like that. That's her back assist. And then in addition to having a forward and back assist, which you have no matter which fuse is select, there's 4 fuses. So there's Fury, there's 2x assist, there's freestyle, and there's double down. And each one of those enables different types of team play. So you can do, like, let's say you choose 2x assist. Well, that allows you to use 2 assists in a row instead of 1 assist, right? But if you do, it has a slightly longer cooldown. There's another fuse type called freestyle where you can handshake tag back and forth twice. There's another fuse style called Fury where you get additional damage when you're damaged, and you also get a one-time use dash cancel with each character. So it's the fuses are more related to the team play, and then the 2 assists, you're right, they are locked in stone, so there's no custom assists. You just use one or the other depending on the situation in the game.
Do you think that there's a possibility of any additional assist types, or do you think the gameplay that we got is the gameplay that we got for the EVO build specifically, right? Like,
you mean additional fuses or additional assists?
Additional assists type.
No, I don't think so. I think that what we got is what we got in terms of assists.
Specifically for the EVO build right now is what we're talking about, right? I'm not talking about down in the future or anything like that. Just
totally. So at EVO, it's going to be back assist and forward assist. Yeah.
Now, I know that there's also something that I know you were willing to go ahead and cover for our listeners and our viewers on YouTube as well as on Spotify, which is the actual button layouts that we have here. So do you want to go ahead and walk us through what the actual controls of the game look like?
Yeah, so it's the top row. So one, you're going to have the choice at EVO to play on either controller or stick, whatever you want. We're going to just go over stick because that's what I play on. I normally play hitbox actually, but I had to learn stick for EVO. So it's on the top row, it's L and then M and then H. So that would be light, medium, heavy, where normally it light punch, medium punch, heavy punch, that is LMH. And then on the bottom row, you have S1, which is special 1. You have S2, which is special 2. And then you have assist, which is assist. So Sharpie, it's actually I'm gonna try to direct you. So far left side, right? Other side.
So I know what it looks like.
I know, but you're looking.
Oh my God, that's right. I am backwards.
There you go.
Okay,
yeah, you're backwards. Yeah. So
I was starting on the wrong side. I'm sorry. This is light.
That's light.
This is medium. I'm doing all this backwards, everybody. I'm sorry.
No, that. Okay.
This is light. That's medium.
Maybe medium. That's heavy. And then on the bottom left, that's S1. S2 and then assist. Yeah. So LMH assist, S1, S2 assist. So the way that the game works is it is basically dial a combo on the top, LMH, you can scale up. That's pretty traditional to how Marvel and anime games work. On the bottom, there are no complicated inputs. So there's no motion inputs. It is all simplified inputs. So it's like forward S1, back S1, down forward S2, back M, down back M. Every character has different moves. When you're actually at EVO, there's going to be a move list at every cab.
Nice.
So you can just reference that. But in general, it's LMH, S1, S2, and assist.
So I guess my additional question is, when you say there's not going to be any complicated inputs, typically that still means that there's going to be things like quarter circles inside of the game. Does this game utilize quarter circles or what are known as dragon punches or Z motions at all?
Nope, none of that.
Just forward, back, up, down.
forward, back, up, down. There are supers that are down, down, S1 and down, down, S2, and down, down, S1, S2, which is level 2. So there's level 1s, 2 level 1s, and 1 level 2.
Okay.
That is the only quote-unquote motion input, but it's not a quarter circle, no half circle, no DP, none of that. It's all simple inputs.
Cool.
And by the way, like, one thing I want to say is that, like, Project L is not a baby game, as I like to call it. It's a really freaking hard game. So just because the inputs are simple, don't mistake that with, like, executional difficulty. This game is hard, and it's hard on purpose. It's very Marvel-like in that respect. So if you're coming in expecting, like, Street Fighter Modern mode or GranBlue simple inputs, this game is extremely execution intense. So just be ready for that, and be ready to need a lot of time on that game to actually get good at it. That's my intention. It's
actually really interesting that you said that, because I believe Sonic Fox actually tweeted out something. They said something along the lines of, even though the inputs are very, very simple, this game is incredibly complex and very, very layered. Something along those lines. I'm obviously paraphrasing because I don't have the exact tweet. But like you stated, you said that's by design. Obviously, the two founders of this, and this is where I very briefly want to go into some fabled history with the game.
Sure.
This game comes from the original team of the founders of EVO, which is Tom and Tony Cannon, as well. Seth Killian was previously working on this project when it was called Rising Thunder, previous to the Riot IP being in on this and Riot purchasing it. I know that Rising Thunder had its own listing of fans. Most notably, Sonic Fox was also very interested in that game, and they spoke very publicly about how much they enjoyed the franchise. In addition, there has been another game publicly made by a developer who previously worked on Skullgirls that has also come out and stated that it will be a 2v2 based kind of fighting game type thing. Do you know the game that I'm talking about? I believe it's called, I'm not remembering what the game is named.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
So that game, right? Do you feel as though this idea of two people controlling two characters is something that we're going to start seeing in more specifically fighting games now, coming out from fighting game developers inside of this space?
No, I don't think so. I think that making so right now, development wise, right, like Street Fighter's whole thing is that it's accessible and easy to play. GranBlue's thing is that it's accessible and easy to play. Strive's thing is that it's accessible and easy to play. I think the whole reason why this game became a team game in general, right? And again, I'm relatively new to the team, so this is me more regurgitating some lore, is that Riot's taking a big bet, right? On that, like, hey, a hard as hell team game can do well in 2023. Like, we don't have to overly simplify. Yes, there are simple controls or simple motions and not actual motion inputs, but the game is hard, right? And it's a 2v2 game and a Marvel game with the intention to be like, yo, like, you better, in order to pilot this stuff and do well, like, you have to be really good at the game, and it's the spectacle of that. I don't expect games to lean into team games or 2v2. There's a reason why games generally don't do it, and it's because it's extremely hard, and it took Riot a long time to get it right, right? Like, this game's been in development for like 6 or 7 years. Yeah, 7 years now. So, like, it took a long time for them to get to this level, to getting to release a demo at EVO, and they want to make sure that 2v2 is at parity with 1v1 and 1v2, right? It's hard to get right, and you need to take big bets, and that's Riot's big bet, and I would not expect other developers to follow suit. It's a tough thing to follow up with, right? Like,
Yeah.
And it fits the Riot IP so well, right? Like blaming your teammates is like what we do, right?
That was a lot of the comments that I saw underneath the official like announcement video was, Riot, thank you so much for giving us a way to blame our teammates, even inside of a fighting game. You know?
Yeah, no problem.
There were a lot of really good memes too that I want to shout out. I think one of my favorite memes was like an Always Sunny meme of the characters Mac and Charlie beating up on kids, and it being like Justin Wong and Kizzy K duo queuing.
Yeah, and like one thing I want to say too is that duoing in this game is actually really fun. Like it's way more fun than you think. And if you're someone that is like, oh, you know, the only reason I play fighting games is so I don't like be with teammates, my recommendation would be give it a try, because I thought I was the same way. It turns out I just love fighting games. Yeah. Like 2v2 is actually a lot of fun, and that's not just because they pay me to play this game.
So one of the cool things that we did have here was actually we got to talk not just to yourself, obviously, that the gameplay we showed earlier was from the influencer event where you were playing and teaming with people inside the community, but we actually got to see some of the developers' faces that were actually publicly a part of it. We saw Pat the Flip, a very well-known anime fighting game player. We got to meet Caroline, who was introduced to us by Draggles, the community manager, as the person currently working on the champion designs for Alawi. We got to meet Max. And we also got to meet Dread, who are both members of the team. And we obviously saw Unconquerable as well as Clockwork, who are both very well known inside the traditional fighting game community. Now, the reason I'm sharing this is because this was actually the very first public footage of the game, actual public gameplay that was posted of Project L outside of the influencer event. So if you haven't had a chance to go over to the Riot YouTube page, I would highly recommend taking a look at the developers playing, because you get an understanding of what this game will look like at tournament setups, right? One of the things I wanted to talk very briefly about here is obviously this gameplay is not like made by pros. You know, like this exact gameplay is not professionals. In fact, as much as I respect Pat, I still wouldn't call him a pro. You know what I mean? Like we're more of, I would say, connoisseurs, right? And we're like creators inside of this community, right?
Yeah, and Pat, one of the fun things about this job, or the interesting things, is you have to figure out how to believably downplay your skill level. So we'll just say that out loud as an interesting part of the job that Pat may or may not have done here. So
you mean like when he got happy birthdayed in like the first couple of seconds of all of this? You don't think?
Yep. No, yeah. That's definitely not him playing at his optimal best. Well put it that way.
You gotta have fun for the job. Like at a certain point, you gotta have fun. And I remember privately speaking to some Skullgirls developers who were very, very excited about Indivisible. And one of the very first public statements that they gave was that we are so excited to be working on a non-fighting game so that the entirety of our then team at Lab Zero can all actively like participate in it, because fighting games are very decisive, and it's like if you don't know fighting games, it can be very hard for you to get into it. But seeing so many people that personally I just don't recognize inside this community still being able to have fun, like spoilers, Max and Dread do an amazing job inside of this showcase, you know?
Yeah, no, it's actually kind of crazy watching 4 people have fun playing a fighting game together, because like a lot of times usually even 2 people can't have fun playing a fighting game, you know, and like that's the power of duos, you know. It's just I
was getting hype watching this footage. I was like, hey yo, did you just do a landing grab there? And also I just want to say for the record, Darius's range terrifies me inside of some of this gameplay. It scares me. Obviously, everybody, this is not final footage or anything like that. This is clearly just an early look at the game and an early demo and version of the game. I'm sure like talking too much about specific attacks and ranges and everything like that is a lot at this stage in the game. I'm just very happy that we're even getting the opportunity to play it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and if you have any questions on any specific characters, like more than happy to dive in too, because like I know these characters like the back of my hand at this point.
One of the things I actually wanted to talk about was some of the advanced mechanics that we briefly alluded to before, even though we have simple, very, very simple controls inside of here. The first of which I want to talk about is push blocking inside of this game. And that was actually, I'm getting this knowledge from the Kill Sage, who went on a very, very, very in-depth process of everything that he learned while he was there with Sonic, going over the game. But one of the things that he was discussing, and I'd love to hear your synopsis on, is the idea of push blocking not actually being necessarily a like in other games, specifically in anime fighting games, you have to press double P while blocking in order to get that push block out. But what he describes it more as is like push blocking on the defense. Instead of you moving your opponent further away, it actually pushes you back so that you still keep the advantage. So talk to me.
Yeah, so there's 2 main defensive mechanics in this game. It's retreating guard and push block, right? The other one is parry. So say there's 3 primary defensive mechanics: retreating guard, push block, and parry. Retreating guard is the only meterless option, although parry is in a way. We'll get there. So retreating guard, you press L plus M or your dash macro back, and your character retreats back. When they're retreating backwards, so this really only has an effect mid-screen, except it has effects in the corner, but more for like anti-fuzzy protection for advanced level play, which I don't think we can get into, but there is a legitimate use in the corner. The way it works is you move away from the opponent, but as you do, you're vulnerable to lows. So let's say an opponent is pressuring you with a normal LMH. Well, you can retreating guard and get the hell out of there, right? And then you're out of range of the M and the H, and then you can punish. But if they do like a jab and then they run forward and do like a crouching M, then they're going to catch your retreating guard, because as you do it, you're vulnerable to lows. That's the main defensive mechanic. Then there's push block, which is get the hell off me, which costs a bar, which is literally like, I am pushing you and the assist to the other side of the screen. Please get the hell off of me. Like, I want you nowhere near me, and I'm willing to spend a bar to do it.
I'm going to interrupt you here because I'm really happy you talked about the bars, first of all. One of the things that a lot of people probably notice is that there are actually 2 active bars in the gameplay. I'm going to go ahead and full screen it right here, but you can actually see both those bars. Obviously, we have the meter at the bottom for each different character. So each character has their own meter. Meter is not shared. And then at the very, very top, we have what I would consider to be typically inside Skullgirl's meter, we call that the undizzy bar, right? But obviously inside this game, it's something else. So talk to me about what that mysterious third meter underneath everybody's health actually does there.
Yeah, so the third meter right now is just used for what we call dynamic save. So as you take damage and as time progresses, you get meter towards this dynamic save bar. And when it's at full, you pretty much get a burst. It's like Guilty Gear in that regard. At the moment, it is only used for dynamic save. So it's pretty limited in its applications, but it's still really important to keep an eye on, because baiting dynamic save will probably win you the game.
For real.
It's a really big deal. Yeah, because dynamic save, for those who don't know what burst is, basically your assist comes on screen and says, I will free you from this combo. And then you burst the opponent off of you, right? But the thing about dynamic save is that if you block dynamic save, then you actually get a fat combo. Like, they bounce off the wall and this effect happens and you get wombo comboed.
Oh, wow.
So it's pretty scary when you decide to do it. Like, if they block it, the game might actually just end. And you are right that there are 2 separate meters. Yeah. So every character has their own meter that they spend on their own defensive mechanics or supers.
There was one other thing that I wanted to talk about that wasn't really covered, and if you can't talk about it, let me know. It's cool. Sure. There seemed to be like a final, you know what I'm talking about, right? When there was only one character.
Yeah, the last stand.
Yeah, what's that about? I didn't actually see any influencers talking about it. And it feels weird to call fighting game players influencers, honestly, but it felt so dirty coming out of my mouth, dude.
It's so funny. Like, when they were like, so what do we call these? You know, do we call them influencers?
God,
do we call them? And we're like gamers, like nerds, goons.
Yeah.
Like, we'll call them, you know. No, so that is what's called the last stand. So when your assist is dead and you're below 50% health, you get access to what is called a last stand. And a last stand is every 10 seconds, your assist comes out and they do a super.
Oh.
So you literally get an assist that does a super for free on a button, and that's to enable comebacks. It's to allow people to do some kind of broken and nasty things. Some of them are better in neutral. Some of them call out projectiles. Some of them are DP. Well, actually, none of them are DPs, but like they all do specific things in the game that are like, yo, this is like a super.
This is some
like
sick stuff, dude.
Yeah, like Echo does his down S1 as his last stand assist. Ari does her down S2 as a last stand. So you literally just get a button to press and you get a super. Keep in mind that when you're in duos, your duo, which we should probably talk about the way that duelist play works also, the partner gets the ability to choose the last stand. You don't get to call the assist. The partner is the assist.
So I think now is a really good time to actually talk more about the way that it will work when we have obviously one person controlling each player and what that kind of looks like, and the control scheme and what that looks like for the assists and stuff. Why don't you go ahead and take lead here, Don, like I've been allowing you to do?
Yeah. Oh, no, yeah, no worries. I mean, I live and breathe this game every day. So
she's like, this is just my 9 to 5.
This is literally just my 9 to 5. Yeah. although we're on gamer hours, so it's a little later than that. But yeah, so the way that dual play works in terms of like who calls an assist, who does like these types of actions, is that in general you are in control of your character, right? So if you're on point, the person in the back actually calls the assist for you, meaning that right now, like on screen, we have Vineeth playing Echo, or actually Funtax playing Echo also, and then Darius, who is Yonoid, which is Nerd Josh, he controls his character. So when he presses the assist button while off screen, Darius comes in and does the assist. You are not in control of the other character whatsoever. So what that means is that you have to be talking with your assist, with your ally, right? And working as a team and knowing like, okay, like as the person off screen, when do you press that assist button? Like, are you in tune with the person running point right now and know when you should assist and when you should not assist, or when to combo and not combo? It's really important to have that connection with each other to know when to call assists. And like a lot of people hear that and they're like, well, isn't that just worse than like one person calling assists? Because then you give up control. And the answer is no, for two reasons. One, as we dig in and as like we begin to dissect the game more, we're realizing, and it's funny watching top level play, is that you're super predictable when you're piloting two characters at once. Yeah. You would be shocked at how good assist calls are when you're off screen and someone else is only dedicated to pressing assists, right? It's really cool watching that whole dynamic unveil. And so, you know, you're in control of handshake tagging, you're in control of everything. Basically, you're in control of your character. You're piloting that character. When it comes to handshake tagging, it's the person that is in that decides to go out. So you can't just like ambush and take over the person in front. But everything else, in terms of who's controlling what, is completely independent.
So let's go ahead and get into something else that I want to talk about at the game, which is that obviously there's only 3 characters that we can showcase right now. Once again, I'm not going to prompt you for that 4th character. We're not going to guess, even though that was something you said you were comfortable doing. I don't want to waste time with that because it's pointless. One of the things I wanted to talk about is actually the fact that we have 2 of the same characters on the screen at certain points during the gameplay, but they have alternate colors, right? Talk to me into kind of like what we can expect to see for different costume designs. Is that something you're able to kind of talk about right now for palettes and stuff?
That I don't actually know. I know what I can talk about is that there are 10 chromas per character. So there's 10 skins basically per character. Each one's really cool. They look awesome. At EVO, you're going to be able to choose between all 10. Awesome. So no worries. There's not going to be like, well, you get 1 and you get 2. Like, no, we're opening them all up and they all look really freaking cool.
Really, really excited for that. Is there maybe a favorite like color scheme that you have for any of the characters?
I hate to be lame, but I always play default. So I'm actually playing default in this clip. I play default.
Don, I don't know if I can have you on this cast anymore, girl. I'm sorry, girl. You're disappointing anime fighting game players everywhere. All of our Melty Blood listeners just turned off the cast.
Yeah, everyone's like, what do you mean you didn't claim a color? You're not color 17 and a half? What's wrong with you?
It's disappointing to say the least, and everybody, I want to apologize on behalf of the entire anime fighting community for that sentence that Doc just said.
Listen, I like playing default because that color can never be up in the rafters.
Okay, you got it.
Imagine being like, yeah, I play Potemkin, I play red Potemkin. Like everyone would be like, ugh, like that color's in the rafters. Well, that's fab. But like, you can't be fab.
Think about like Ken in Black is a very famous like Street Fighter player from my region. He played Third Strike. His name is Ken in Black because he used the black palette for Ken, and he used the black G every like it was literally his name, Ken in Black.
Yeah, but like I don't want to. I just don't want my color to be up in the rafters. I don't want someone to be better at me at my color.
Okay, fair.
Smash players are all over that stuff too. Like, there's colors that you cannot pick competitively because of like I don't want to deal with that. I play default. I like the default colors.
Okay, fair. Really good to know. I know not a lot of people have been like super public, so that's awesome to just go ahead and confirm. Of the three characters that we've had so far, is there a character that you're really personally enjoying? Like I know obviously inside this gameplay you played Ari.
They're all so good.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I played Ari in this version. fun. Yeah, they're all so good. Like that's the thing. Like they're all just so fun.
They look really good. They look really fun. Like, and seeing the final, I call them VFX inside of this game, and I know that's like the technical term of it, but it's basically like the video effects and the particle effects as they are finished inside of this game look absolutely beautiful. Like, which is exactly what I thought the very first time I got to see it at EVO last year when I got invited to that Riot showcase, which I've talked about previously but don't have any videos because we weren't allowed to film. But it's amazing the way they polished the game. Truthfully, it really is that polished now.
Yeah, it was really interesting as a player, like watching everything come together in the final hour or two before we published the EVO build. Like things just kind of flew together, which is really cool. But like it also means that there's like we're not at the ceiling, I think, in terms of how this game could look, which is really cool.
Oh, for sure.
Like it still has a lot more to go. But yeah, in terms of like the characters themselves, like I really do enjoy playing all of them. My team right now is what I call Darius, which is Darius and Ari, which is actually the team that I think I'm playing right now.
Not Arius?
On this one.
You don't call it Arius?
No, not Ari. No, because it's Darius, you know? It's Darius. Look at me.
Then wouldn't it be Dari?
Right, no, Darius. Dahrius. Darius. Darius runs the show, all right? Look at me. Look at me. I'm carrying Vineeth. I'm carrying Vineeth right now. Look at me.
I just want to say for the record, I do not appreciate that horrible punny name. That was.
What do you mean?
It was
it's
bad.
It's perfect.
It's bad. I don't like it.
It's perfect.
You're telling me we got maximum dread, and I have to hit here to Darius, the same name. Boo.
Yeah.
Boo.
Yeah, it's Darius. What do you mean? That's perfect.
Bro,
what else would you call it?
Noxus would be so disappointed. Noxus would be so disappointed.
Screw Noxus. I definitely am an expert on League lore, so you know.
Oh no, I'm actually an expert of League lore. I've been playing League of Legends since the lore tab was removed, so.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. I am not.
That's fair. That's fair.
I am an expert. They pay me to play the game, not to know the game.
So there are two characters specifically that have like insane lore with Darius, right? And that's Draven. And I want to say there's somebody else in Noxus that has it. And I can't remember who it is off the top of my head right now. But the reason why is because both Darius and Draven existed inside of like the battle clan of Noxus, which for people who may have watched Arcane, you got to see a brief glimpse into like the war-torn areas of Noxus where like the winners are just bloody and victorious and they just indulge in anything they want because they can, because they are literally war-soaked, right? Noxus is really, really against Demacia. They're consistently at war with Demacia, so they're at war with Garen and Lux and the like, right? And then you have people like Ezreal, who even though they are Demacian, they go into starts with an S, I'm forgetting, Shuruma, basically to go examine things with like Zillion and the like, right? But anyway, the point of all of this is to say that Darius is a warrior. If we get Darius, I would highly be excited to see other like Noxian characters inside the game, just because of the lore and the interaction that you have with characters like this. But especially one of the characters that they have talked very, very briefly about, which I'm not going to harp on, I'm not going to ask you anything about it, is I will just personally say I'm very excited to see Alawi when we finally get to see her gameplay. Just because I know me and John, I'm actually going to show you very briefly right now, Don, but me and my fiance, future husband John, we used to play League of Legends, and we've played Runeterra, and we play it together. And the reason I bring it up, Runeterra is really, really good. But the reason I bring it up is because we actually have we had art done of us together, showing actually showing the both of us as our League of Legends character. So I mostly play like support and stuff, so I mostly sit in the bot lane, but I also, just because back in like season 4, season 5, season 6, the characters that had the most like ability to like steamroll a game early were in the bot lane or were in jungle, because they had complete control of the game, right? But now obviously that's since changed. Support's not as like important as much because objectives have kind of changed focus and stuff. But so we had this art done of me as Braum, which was the character that I occasionally played with him, and he really likes Alawi. So when Alawi was announced, cute, I called him immediately, and I was like, John, your character's in the game. He's like, that's hype. And then he hung up on me.
That hype click.
He was like, I know. And I was like, what do you mean, you know? He's like, I have Twitter. I was like, you got me, you know? But I just want to say, like, obviously, Dawn, that brings us to the end of this segment. Thank you so much for like discussing all of this with us. We covered a lot. We covered a lot inside of Project L. And I just have to ask if you like have any final thoughts, as it were, about like where Project L stands right now in your mind and what you're excited to see inside of this future, I would say, EVO play. What are you most excited? Because you will be there during EVO weekend, correct?
Yeah, so, you know, my overall thoughts on Project L is I wouldn't be working on the game if I didn't love it. And I've thought a lot about, and I'm probably going to release a YouTube video on this after EVO. I'm kind of waiting for it to talk about it in depth. But I think what I enjoy the most about Project L is that it's like you're ripping, like you are ripping on a guitar in this game. Like I feel like in Street Fighter it's very like much like a boxing match, like you're punching back and forth, you're dodging, you're weaving. And Project L, like you're just like doing a sick ass guitar solo at each other, and it's like you're just cooking, and it's a lot of fun.
It looks really fun. I'm incredibly disappointed I wasn't asked to play, but I'm a very bad video game player, so I get it. And I do just want to take this opportunity really quickly before we go into the final credits of this cast to say, if there are any Rioters that I know who are actually on the development team that are responsible specifically on the community management or marketing aspect of this, please know that I am very, very interested in this game. I would highly, highly, highly appreciate an opportunity to either commentate it or even just play the open beta, as it were to seem. But, you know, just putting it out there.
I'll let him know. But yeah, like my final thoughts are I love this game. This game is sick. I really, really, really enjoy playing it, and I don't enjoy playing a lot of games out there right now, which is like, to me, speaks volumes into what I enjoy. And yeah, EVO is right around the corner. Like it'll be next weekend, but for those that are listening, like fresh, come to the booth. I'll be at the booth playing the game and showing it off and enjoying it with everyone else. So
yeah, take some pictures with Dawn at the booth, not when she's just relaxing and chilling at the venue. You know, post it to us using hashtag FGCcast, and you may see your pictures posted inside of the video episode of our podcast very next weekend, which, by the way, everybody, thank you so much for listening to this very special episode of FGC Cast. This has been episode number 10, and we are actually releasing this a little bit early in order to actually get it out in time for EVO. I just wanted to go ahead and announce a couple of things. The first of which is that Stitcher will actually be discontinuing use of the platform. So if we have any listeners who are listening on Stitcher exclusively, we highly recommend moving over to Spotify, YouTube, or the Pandora application in order to listen to us, as Stitcher is literally being closed. So you are going to want to move over to SiriusXM or Spotify or YouTube, like I stated before. And secondly, I just want to announce a very important announcement, which is that Dawn will be at EVO 2023, obviously working with Riot, who will be showcasing Project L. But even more importantly, we're going to have a very special post-EVO cast that will be coming out the very next week after EVO's done. So the 2 days after EVO is finished, we're going to have an exclusive version of this podcast hosted exclusively by Yahosi. It will be uploaded as per normal on our YouTube, Spotify, wherever else you get your favorite podcast, except for Stitcher.
Except for Stitcher.
And yeah, I'm sorry about that.
What is Stitcher?
Stitcher is actually the world's oldest podcast application. It's literally been out since before 2008. It was one of the very first applications to be available for Android and iPhone that included the ability to actually listen to internet podcasts.
Well, yeah, I'm looking it up now, and good see you, Stitcher. Not for much longer.
Not for very much longer, no. Unfortunately, it was purchased. I shouldn't say unfortunately, like they're getting a bag, but it was purchased by SiriusXM. And so all the podcasts on there are being moved over to Pandora and SiriusXM exclusively, which I believe are paid services, unfortunately. I also want to apologize to any of our Google podcast listeners. I think there are like 2 of y'all out there, and that's just because, unfortunately, like Google messed up our new like RSS feed, which I had to remake because Stitcher's getting getting rid of it and everything, and I didn't want it to look weird on the Pandora app, so I remade it, and I'm reposting them very, very slowly, but they're coming out. So it should be fixed by now. You're gonna get new episodes and everything like that, but I do just want to say thank you so much again for your patience and supporting the podcast. Dawn, any final thoughts before we end this episode with even more amazing FGC news?
Play Project L. It's a good game.
Play Project L.
I'm sure you all want to. So come play Project L at
Well,
EVO.
you know, honestly, Dawn, I would be able to play it if I'd been invited to play
That's
the
right.
game.
That's right.
Along with my I'm not
Sorry,
bitter. I'm really happy. I'm really happy. I'm genuinely really happy for everyone that got invited. I'm not mad. I understand why I wasn't invited. I'm actually very happy I wasn't invited because it means that they acknowledge that I will not be competing in this game and I'll just be creating content around it, which is good.
There you go.
Because if I was competing in this game, I wouldn't be able to be the exclusive commentator for this game. I'm coming for your spot, Sajam.
Yeah, you can come for my spot. I'm not competing in this game. I'm not able to. So there you go.
Isn't that crazy that you can't compete and work on the game? I've never...
Yeah, weird, right?
I just come from Skullgirls where one of our lead developers was like also a top player, you know?
Yeah, or like what was that? There was like a, you know, that Yomi, the deck building game.
Yes,
Where they hosted a tournament, and at the top 3 was the developers, and it had a pop bonus from the developers.
It's so bad for optics, dude. It really does suck. But
yeah,
it's the way
I will
it
not
goes.
be competing in this game. I will just be working on it and making it good, which is better than anything I could have ever asked for.
Yeah.
So if the game's bad, just at me.
Don't give them the fodder. Don't give them the fodder. Don, 7 months from today, you are going to be getting this clip. They're going to be like, well, you told us to at you, Don. I don't understand.
That's right. Yeah, just add me on Twitter, because Twitter is no longer. How about that? Just add me on Twitter and I'm off Twitter. I never look at that website ever again.
No, we definitely read every single hashtag on Twitter, dude.
Oh, yeah.
Every single one. Well, everybody, thank you so much
one.
again for listening to the cast. And as always, gamers, see you offline.
See you offline, gamers. Literally. See you at EVO.
EVO's going to be hyped this year.
I hope so.